Just like other opposition parties, like the Republicans and the UK Independence Party, alternative transportation advocates need to unify if they want to get anything done. Usually, advocates are focused on getting space from cars or saving it from being sold to developers, but sometimes one of these spaces is optimal for more than one mode of alternative transportation, and two groups, usually united, find themselves fighting between each other. Alternative transportation advocates must create long-range plans to identify conflicts between modes and must address these conflicts on a local, case-by-case basis. All over the country, cities are trying to replicate the success of the High Line, including the borough of Queens in New York. There, an abandoned section of track owned by the Long Island Railroad connects in the north the major subway line in Queens and the Long Island Railroad main line to, in the south, the A subway lines. Because the Queens subway and the Long Island Railroad lines have access to Penn Station and the A train serves JFK International Airport, transit advocates think the route could be useful in the future for creating a faster connection from Midtown Manhattan to JFK and surrounding neighborhoods. However, the line traverses the neighborhoods of Regal Park and Ozone Park, both of which have very limited park space within walking distance. Park advocates say the space could become the Queensway, a linear park which would provide park space to underserved areas and would encourage development in the area just like the High Line did in the Meatpacking District. Transit advocates argue the High Line wasn't the catalyst for development. The area was already ready to be developed, and the High Line's construction at the time was just a coincidence. Therefore, the Queensway wouldn't bring development to the area, and a subway line might provide similar or more development potential. Park advocates argue transit advocates want to instead of being built right away. None of this fighting helps advocates for alternative modes of transportation get people out of cars and onto sidewalks, bikes, transit, or a mix of all of them. Part of the problem is that none of the groups fighting have a plan delineating where their networks need to be improved and expanded. The MTA, the organization which runs the New York City subway, has a capital program determining the projects it will fund within the next 5 years, but no plan of what the subway could look like in 20 or longer. Transit advocates would have an easier time arguing for keeping the right-of-way if it was thought of as necessary for the subway system in the future. The same would happen if Queens had a master plan which showed the area around the Queensway being upzoned, or if New York City Department of Parks and Recreation had a plan as to where future parks should be established. If every one of these agencies had a plan like this, however, a decision as to who got the space would still be necessary. According to the Complete Streets hierarchy, the land should be converted to a park, which could more easily be used for pedestrians and bikes, which are both often ranked above transit. However, a right-of-way as long as the Queensway is rare in any city, especially one as dense as New York City, and transit requires long rights-of-way like it to be efficient. Andrew Lynch, a cartographer and transit enthusiast who runs the Van Schnugenragen transit blog, argues there is a best-of-both-worlds solution. His plan is to tunnel the subway under the northern half, allowing ground level to become the park for nearby residents. The embankment of the southern half will be narrowed for two-track subway service, and parks, markets, and bike lanes could fill the vacated space. Of course, this would not be the optimal solution for either side individually, but it could allow both parties to get behind a compromise solution. With both parties united, the fight could move to gaining bike lanes for a section of the right-of-way in exchange for a reduction of car lanes on a nearby boulevard, to complete a bike trail along the Queensway's entirety. Lynch's plan is a perfect example of local solutions creating better solutions than blanket rules. Even within the project site, the compromise is changed to best fit site conditions. A better solution to the problem of limited urban space is to create multimodal long-range plans connected to development plans and to address conflicts between modes on an individual basis. All modes of transport and development are important to plan for in advance, so improvements can work towards a better network or development pattern. Instead of advocates for different alternative modes of transport having to fight between themselves, this plan would allow them to focus on giving transportation options to the community, their stated goal. When conflicts arise between two modes of alternative transportation during the long-range planning process, a localized solution would be necessary. Both parties should be willing to compromise on land which is not integral to their overall network. This way, alternative transportation can be unified against opposition from drivers. With cooperation on compromise, the city could offer real transportation choices and improve the lives of its citizens.